Okay, my friends, any pretty good anatomist should tell you what this is. This is, I believe it's a bone connection right here that broke off. This is a little tendon strap that leads down to the muscles, and the muscles have broken off here. I have this in great detail in the microscope. Now, the top is literally what creates sandstone. This here is the coarse sandstone. This is the fine sandstone, and then there is a red bloody layer in there that makes the mudstone. And I will show you all three of these in the microscope. They're quite obvious. Now, I'm going to put a little water on, we're going to come back to it. But what it represents is something very similar to this. The bone would have been on the end here, but it's gone, basically, where you can see where it maybe broke part of it off, I don't know. But you can see that round area, and then you have the red bloody, and then the flesh, and then the tendon, and I'll show you all that right now. Alright, so again, we're going to be looking at the outside layer of skin, then this is the bony area, and then these are the tendons that run down to where it glues in, literally, to the muscle. And that's the progression from bone to tendon to muscle, and the outside layer is skin, and then there's a layer of red red blood, really, that services, and there's another layer of red blood at the bottom that services this tissue. This needs a lot of blood because it did a lot of work. Now, I don't know what kind of creature it is. I'm not going to make any claims about that, but it is it's absolutely certain that it's a creature. Now, I'm going to put a little water on here. Sometimes it brings out things a little better, and we can see them a little better when they're wet, usually. But that's about the area where the bone was, right there. That's the tendon area, and this is the muscle area. Now, I'm going to let it dry, and this is the bloody area. See the red bloody area up there? That'll turn red blood. And you could drill in there deep into these areas, and there's going to be DNA in there. Now, I'm not going to say it's complete DNA, but we found the mother's DNA in the mud fossils that I presented, and I have the reports and I have the specimens. This is not one of them that I had DNA tested. This is just to show you where sand comes from. The coarse sand comes from up here. The fine sand comes from down here, and the mud is between the fine and the coarse and the fine sand. And anytime you have thick, dense, bloody area, you are going to get the red clay, the clay, really red molding clay almost. Alright, this is the specimen I was showing you. This is the outside of where is the coarse, very, very coarse sand, see it? Now, we're going to go down to an area where it's going to be the muscle. This is the muscle type of sand. You see the little layering in the muscle? That's the kind of sand that comes out of muscle. So that is the less of a grade of sand. This is the real coarse up here. It has a lot of quartzite in it. This is a little less, still quite a bit of quartzite. You see it? And it's starting to turn into the muddy brown looking clay, sand. And then you get down to where the blood is. Hold on. Alright, this is the layer of bloody, where it will turn into bloody muddy sand. But it's really, it'll turn into clay. And here's an area where it's broken open. And that would have been clay. And so that's the difference between the different areas in the body. And now all this stuff happened at the same time. They think these sand layers took millions of years to build up. We got a layer here, we got a layer there, we got a layer here. Well, let me show you. They're not layers here and there. They're layers of body tissue. You see these layers here? That's not erosion and so forth. That's body tissue that they form in layers. And this is where sand comes from. It erodes into sand, absolutely. But a lot of it stays into mountains and hills and rocks. Just like this was a rock. You look at that, it's a rock. All right, this is what I was looking at right there. That's just a rock as far as most people would be concerned. But not to Roger. And this is, it's muscle, and it's a body part. And it's from a giant creature. I don't know what it was, but it was definitely from a creature. And this stuff can be tested now. When I first started, not a single person had ever done any DNA on ancient fossils. And then I did, and then it was just totally rejected. Oh, why don't you do some more of it? Well, why should I do it? I have the specimens. I have my tests. You do your tests. Let's see if they compare. You know, they just say, I contaminated, I did this, I did that. No. They refuse to look. It's time we have to take some action to get this stuff realized, what really is reality of our lives. And we're being dictated to by academia to say, no, don't look at that stuff because we don't like it. Okay, let me give you the lay of the land. This is wherever that bone implanted into. And there's all kinds of tendon fibers we're going to look at. This is the glue that glues the tendon into this strap that goes to the muscle. This is actually muscle. We're going to be looking at the glue, and I believe in that glue is where the sulfur is. I'm pretty sure. We're going to look at it now in the microscope. Now what I want you to pay attention to is this is the area we're going to be looking at right there. That's the glue, and boy is that tough. Stuff is tough. Now here I had it in the microscope before. Now let me come up a little bit here and come in a little and see if you can see the yellow. You see that yellow right there? There's yellow, and then there's yellow down here. That I believe is sulfur. Now I don't have the chemistry to test it, but I believe that is sulfur, and we're going to look at that in the microscope and see, you know, because we'll look at it in the microscope, and you can see all the fibers, and then this is where it matches into the muscle, and then the muscle runs off and breaks off at the end, which is down here. All right, this is where all the fibers come to, and then they break off. This is the real red, muddy, I mean that is mud, red bloody mud, and that's what it creates when everything erodes. The very, very tough stuff erodes. You know, the scratchy, real coarse sand, and then you get into the bloody muddy, and then you get into the fine sand, and all it is muscle. And then, like, this is a wet sort of it's a gooey area basically that holds a lot of blood and so forth in between the layers of tissue, and this services the muscles with its blood. And then there's a layer down below that is also blood that services the muscles. So it takes a lot of blood to run these muscles, a lot of oxygen. That's where your oxygen is. Okay, so get your anatomists and get your geologists, and I will tell you right now that this is anatomically some form of it looks like a bone implant, and then the tendons run off to the muscles. This is the outside part, which is the exposed, which is extremely coarse sandstone. This will erode to be finer sandstone. This right here will erode to be literally mud. I mean red bloody mud, red clay. You see it? That's the red clay. You hear this? That's the sandstone. You see this? That's the finer sandstone. 3 different types of sandstone. Plus, I believe right here where the glue is, it glues to the assembly that holds you in it. Right here, the round part here. That glue, I believe, contains sulfur. Now, I'm not certain, but I did see it in, let me show you. All right, I can't really do any chemistry here to tell, but this is just a guess. Now, this is the muscles. We're going to be working our way back up to where the tendon is, and I believe I saw some yellow that I believe is sulfur. Now, I'm not sure. So here we're going back up the muscle fibers. You can see all these muscle fibers. And then you have an abrupt transition. Then you get into the glue. And here comes the glue. And don't forget now, that's the red that turns into just red fleshy mud, and the real sandy coarse stuff is up here. You see the difference between that and this and that? Sand, mud, grit. Now watch as we come, right there, you see that? That's yellow. And then there's more yellow here. And then there was more yellow down the bottom. You see the yellow, and anyway, I believe it's got to do with where the tendon's in place, because I've also found this, I don't know if it's sulfur, it's a more of an orange color, but it's in the tendon emplacements on fingers too. I'll show you that. Alright, now check this out. I've been working with Tyson for a few years now, and most everybody that knows me knows who Tyson is, and he's out in the Oregon area, and he's got a gigantic site out there, absolutely enormous, and he's doing a fabulous job at confronting geologists with this particular one. Where did all the sandstone come from? Where did sandstone come from? Oh, it eroded and it did this and it did that. Well, and it took thousands of years and layer after layer after layer. Well, I just showed you muscle fibers that are layer after layer after layer that took like 2 seconds after the guy died. Now, he confronted a geologist. Wait till you see this. This is hilarious. All right, I'm going to show you something. This right here is my specimen, and I'm going to show you in the microscope. This right here is Tyson's specimen on the road. Now, here's mine up in the microscope. Alright, now, I'm going to bring this in a little closer so you can see. There is a ton of layers here. This is the outside of the skin. This is a piece of skin going in towards the flesh. And this is all layers of tissue. And I'll show you the other side of it where it's broken and you can see this was cut across. Now I'll show you. Let's move it up. Can you see that? Yes. I believe you can. Alright, now let's move up the microscope here if we can. You see, as you go in past all those outside layers, you start getting into, you see the little holes in there. Those are all your blood vessels. That has to service some muscles. That's where all your muscle fibers was inside here. And now we're to the other side where it broke off. But these are all layers. And I mean, wait till you see the other side of this, how many layers there is. Hold on, I'm going to get the microscope on that. All right, now I showed you this rock in the microscope. This is the other side where we can see every one of those tissue layers. Now, there is about a bazillion of them in there. Now just think if every one of those layers was like one of these or one of those, how thick that would be. Now, let's look at this sulfur that's coming out of the side. And this is a absolutely hilarious story. All right, this is Tyson's mud fossil adventures. Now he wants to know, and he's telling these geologists, I want you to explain to me how this happened. Because they say the only place you get sulfur is volcanic areas, and this is not a volcanic area. So where does sulfur come from? So he's really pushing them, and he's showing all the sulfur leaching out of all of these layers of tissue. And if you look at them closely, you can see they're coming out of the same thing I showed you before. They're coming out of little holes and things where veins and arteries were. You see the hole right there? Whoops. You see it? Right there. See that little yellow dot? It's leaching out of there. And so Tyson gets a hold of this geologist and he says, all right, explain to me where this sulfur's coming from. And the guy says, there's no sulfur there. Tyson says, what are you talking about? There's sulfur everywhere. It's all over. It's leaching everywhere. It's coming out all over the place. And the guy says, oh, some kid got up there and painted it with a spray paint. I'm not kidding you. I swear to God, that's a fact. Now, this whole hill here appears to me to be skin. I'm not kidding you. I'm talking way thick. And if you think that's out of the question, let me show you something else of Tyson's. All right, all I can tell you is that things were a lot different than I was told. This is only the lower layer of a membrane, right? This here. This is just this layer. 6 feet above, against the face of this cliff over here, is this. You can see this row of ball-looking formations. In between here, this is very, very erodible. So the water's washed up in here, eroded all that stuff, and the whole cliff face is back there, is right up back here. Now, they put fires in here and make fire pits in here and sit around and cook and so forth. It's just absolutely gigantic. These holes are these ion channels. That little squirrely thing right there is that little squirrely thing right there. I'm telling you, it's identical to the... I have no way to account for this other than I can tell you, in my way of thinking, Tyson is on the coast of Oregon, and it is being eroded away, and this is membranes. That membrane is in between every layer of tissue in your body. There's hundreds and probably millions in your body of these membranes. Think of how big this thing had to be. And let me show you another area in England, same thing against the coast, erosion, showing exactly the anatomy that was there, and it is spectacularly large. Okay, in the body, this is so small that they didn't even realize it existed. I'm not kidding you, until 2016 or so. Because these were always given to the autopsy people as a little flat thing. They thought it was just a little flat wafer. Well, no, they're huge bags full of fluids and balls. And when this erodes, you see a white layer at the top, which is the mucosa, and then you're going to see all this reddy looking flesh stuff, and then you're going to see a whole batch of these black balls because they are harder than hell, and they'll be laying all over. As the water washes in, erodes this, the balls fall. Let's see if we can find any place on Earth. Ooh, wait a minute, we just did. There it is right there. This is over in England somewhere, I believe. And look at the size of these balls. These are the balls that are the ones I just showed you above. That's the mucosa layer. This is against the coast. Again, mud is what erodes from the fleshy areas. The white areas forms chalk and so forth, you know, kaolin clays. And these balls, they're everywhere around Earth. I mean, there's just billions of them. Because the Earth is nothing more than creatures. I can't explain it. Don't look at me for any explanation there. All I can tell you is it appears on every coastline we're finding all of the evidence of creature erosion. I'm sorry. Were the continents just made of creatures? What about underneath the oceans? I have no answers for these things, but we have to look at them with different eyes, I can tell you that right now. If you didn't see what I showed you, I don't know where your eyes are. There's a tendon ball over where Tyson is, and he's standing next to it. Gigantic. And there's the strap that runs to it. Those tendon balls anchor into your body, and the strap is what holds them. I'll show you the anatomical. Alright, this is what tendons look like, and some of them have an anchor like this one did, and then the strap coming out the end, and other ones lay flat in a mats on your body, and they don't ball up into a ball on the end, but they all have little balls that anchor and little straps that come out of them. Otherwise they can't stay in your body, they'll just pull right out. And they're all over your body. I mean, there's hundreds of thousands of them, I'm sure. Here's one of these anchor balls right here, and these little white fibers are the straps that ran back and attached back something. Every one of those balls is locked, and then whatever is out here, the muscles, those are the things that move. The ball, she's a no move. Okay, anybody who's been following me knows about the hand and about the fingertip and all the other parts I have from this. And that's a left hand, that's a little bumper pad around your, you know, you have one in your hand too, and that's the tendon that goes down. If you lay it back, you'll see you have one of those. Your thumb goes off here, and that is the thumb. Now, and I have some knuckles and things from this and other parts. Now, and you see the difference in color of the flesh and then the skin. The skin is a whole different type of material than the underneath of the grip skin. Grip skin on your hands and feet and toes and fingers, ooh, totally different. It's extremely keratinized, dense, like almost like a rubber pad, and it peels right off just like that. Now, well, you can see. Okay, now we're going to look at this fingertip in a microscope, and I'm going to show you some areas. You see this orange looking stuff? We're going to take a look at that, because this right here, you see that's orange only there? Well, why is that? Haven't geologists explained that to me? Why is that orange there? And why is it orange in where I say the tendons attach? Mr. Geologist. And he'll say, oh, some kid came up and painted that. It's amazing. I have to tell you a funny story. I was invited on his show, and they just couldn't accept anything. And they threw me off the show and then came back and assaulted me. And then when they were assaulting me, I had a friend there that was trying to help me out, but he couldn't fight back against these guys. And he says, all fossils are rocks. But there's only rocks that are fossils are fossils. Other rocks just look like fossils. Well, you know, it's ridiculous. Absolutely amazing. And I had DNA and CAT scans and all of this stuff I'm showing you, and that's still the response. And then they came back and said, this guy's got no evidence at all. He's just a meatball. And this is what you get from all the geologists. Just like Tyson got, this guy painted this stuff. It's amazing how weak-minded they are. You know, I don't want to be nasty, but for 10 years, all we've been getting is nastiness from these weak-minded people that are trying to teach your kids to be stupid. Basically, that's it. Okay, I'm quite a ways off of this fingertip now, but we can see that orange-looking stuff. Now, I don't know if that's sulfur or not. That basically looks like sulfur to me, and sulfur can have that tint to it, I believe. Now, you see these little circles, and that is an implant. That was something was balled into there. Same thing here. This was a tendon implant, and it's right there on the finger, and that held that to the next bone, basically. Now, let me move down a little closer with this. Hold on. We'll take a real close-up look here. Okay, this takes a minute. Chill your little self out. Here we go. Sometimes it's better to stand off. You can see a lot better, but you know, you can see the structure better. Right now, all you see is the different colors, but the colors mean a lot to me. Now, let me show you something else about this fingertip. Remember I showed you all those little balls and tendons? They are all over your skin. Wait till I show you this. Alright, check this out. This is the surface of this fingertip. You see all those little black spots? Those are all those little balls. You see these holes? That's where blood ran through there. Blood vessels. You see it right there? Let's see if we can dig down deep into that. That's a blood vessel. Down inside there, that's where blood ran to support life. And up above was all the fabric of life. Let me show you something that is today's life that mimics this exactly. Is my genuine cowhide leather belt. Alright, you see that? Leather is tanned, which means they squish it and flatten out and put some chemicals to wash it all out. Now, that's the outside of the belt. The inside is literally inside the body. That was what is on the other side of the belt. You see it? Those are those little black balls and all those little black spots and all those fibers running from them. And those fibers hold you together. And when you put them in the belt loop, you see them all coming apart? You see, these are those little balls like on that fingertip I showed you. And it has the same thing. Your fingers have to stretch and your tissue has to move all around and come back to where it was. These are the anchors, these are the straps. Just like I showed you with Tyson's tendon ball on one of these straps. Exact same stuff. Only absolutely phenomenally gigantic. Alright, to have some geologists explain this to me, why is this happening? Why do we have all these tiny little balls all over this fingertip, which is just some chunk of dirt, they think? And why do we have all these little blood vessels? And why was it DNA tested as being human and CAT scanned and verified by anatomists as being human anatomy? How do you account for all of that stuff and just laugh when it's presented and walk away and make statements that are just nonsense? we need to be able to confront our true reality. And this is our true reality. Giants were here on this earth. Nobody can deny it now. Not a single person on the face of the planet. And until it's addressed, we are walking around in circles. We have no clue what we're doing now or what we will do in the future. Okay, by now you should understand this was biology, and the top is the coarse sand. This is where the blood ran through here. See the arteries here? That's where red blood is. And then you had the tissue, the muscle. You see how it's all woven and so forth. And then you had where it embedded into the, and glued itself into that bone socket or whatever it attached to. And I don't know what this was. I don't know what kind of creature it was, but they all have a similar anatomy. They have a very coarse outside layer of skin, and then they have a really fine, muddy, bloody layer that services that and the muscle below. And then they have all the muscle fibers that weave and tendons that attach. Not a whole lot of difference between creatures in that respect. Okay, so if that was a creature, it died all at one time. It didn't take it a long time to die, like, let's say, maybe 270 or 300 million years. That's what they say. Oh, it took 300 million years, and it sloshed this way, then it sloshed that way, and then it sloshed this way, and it... Come on. I have shown reality is what they said it was long, long ago. Now, you can take for whatever you want to take it for, but I'm taking it to say, I want to look at the ancient texts and see what they had to say. And if you look at Velikovsky, it'll blow your mind. And he explains exactly how this happened. The earth was boiled because Venus almost hit the earth, and as it did, it was the brightness of 1,000 suns. And it boiled all of the oceans on the earth. It cooked everybody, and they were parboiled. And then when they dried out, after everything dried up, you're left with mud fossils.